Most women have no idea what a man truly sees when he looks at their body. Not the body they scrutinize in the mirror, not the one they compare to filtered faces and sculpted illusions, but the body that speaks in a language far older than thought itself. A woman often believes he is analyzing imperfections, measuring desirability, or calculating worth based on surface. Yet the deeper masculine psyche, the one shaped by instinct, archetype, and the silent architecture of the unconscious, perceives something entirely different. The mythic landscape within her, the terrain of the feminine soul that she herself has forgotten. The masculine psyche does not simply see skin, it senses symbol. To him, a woman's body is a doorway, a threshold, a kind of living myth that beckons him into territories he cannot enter alone. On the outside, he may appear composed, rational, even indifferent, but inside the ancient patterns ignite. The lover, the hero, the wanderer, the shadow. These forces have been sleeping in him, coiled beneath his stoic exterior, waiting for the feminine form to stir them awake. A man does not consciously choose this reaction. He is seized by it. Every curve, every movement, every subtle shift in her presence pulls at the instinctive fabric of his psyche. And here's the part most women never see. The masculine perception of her body is not rooted in lust. At least, not only lust. Lust is merely the surface ripple. What stirs beneath is far more vulnerable, far more disarming. Longing. The longing to feel alive. The longing to feel chosen. The longing to be shaken out of the numbness that the world forces him to wear as armor. Her body becomes a symbol of everything he has been taught to suppress. Desire, surrender, awe. But she rarely realizes this. She sees her body through the lens of self-critique, through the cultural microscope that magnifies flaws and diminishes radiance. She forgets that the masculine unconscious, the part of him shaped by Jung's archetypes, does not see flaws. It sees portals. The feminine body is, psychologically speaking, the most powerful archetype he encounters in his daily life. Not because of sexual availability, but because it awakens the parts of him he has never fully met. And when he stands before her, even clothed, even in conversation, something in him feels exposed. She becomes the mirror he never asked for, the one that reflects not who he pretends to be, but who he truly is beneath, the performance of masculinity. Her presence pulls his shadow to the surface, the fear of inadequacy, the fear of being seen, the fear of not being enough. Many women assume a man distances himself because he loses interest. Often, the truth is the opposite. He distances himself because her presence is too revealing. She sees him without even trying. You too have done this without knowing. You've walked into a room believing no one noticed. And yet, he felt something shift inside him the moment. You crossed his field of vision. Because your body carries an energy signature, the subtle, emotional, instinctive language that men were never taught to articulate but cannot escape. The way you sit, the way you breathe, the way your eyes move when you are thinking. He registers all of it. Not logically, not consciously, but through the ancient masculine radar that predates speech. And this is why a man can remember a woman's presence long after forgetting her words. Her body transmits the emotional truth she does not speak. Perhaps she thinks she is hiding her insecurity or masking her longing. But the masculine unconscious perceives them anyway. Not to judge, but because he is wired to detect the emotional landscape beneath the surface. This is why a man can be captivated not by perfection, but by authenticity, vulnerability, resonance. Deep down, he is not searching for beauty in the superficial sense. He is searching for meaning. He looks at her body and sees the possibility of connection. Not soft skin, but soft truth. Not curves, but the spiritual gravity they represent. Men who appear purely visual or superficial are often simply uninitiated into their own depths, but even they, unknowingly, respond to archetypes, not aesthetics. And yet, here lies the paradox. The woman who doesn't know her own power often becomes the one who doubts it the most. She stares into mirrors searching for proof of worth, while he sees in her the origin of life, the echo of the feminine divine, the force that has shaped myths, kingdoms, wars, and poetry. She sees a body, he sees a universe. She sees flaws, he sees thresholds. She sees weight, he sees gravity. She sees skin, he sees symbolism. What he perceives in her is something she abandoned long ago. Not out of weakness, but out of survival. The world taught her to shrink, to silence, to criticize, to divide herself from the sacredness of her own form. But the masculine psyche, ironically, never stopped seeing what she forgot. And that is where this story truly begins. What he perceives continues long after she turns away, long after the conversation ends, long after she convinces herself she left no impression at all. The masculine psyche does not experience her body as a static image. It experiences her as an atmosphere, a field, a kind of invisible gravity that pulls at his internal architecture. A man may not articulate this in words. He may not even understand it consciously, but his body does. His nervous system does. His emotional memory does. And this is where the deeper truth begins to unfold. A woman often thinks her body is being evaluated against an external standard, but in reality, her presence is stirring something internal in him. Her body activates dormant archetypes within him, especially the ones he keeps buried beneath ambition, stoicism, or distraction. Her softness confronts his hardness. Her fluidity exposes his rigidity. Her intuition destabilizes his logic. Her emotional depth cracks the shell of his emotional restraint. Simply by existing near him, she awakens the parts of him he has worked tirelessly to master, suppress, or deny. And ironically, this awakening terrifies him far more than her appearance ever could. Because when the feminine body appears before the masculine unconscious, it carries with it a silent demand. Face yourself. Not the socially polished self, not the role-playing self, not the self that performs masculinity to avoid rejection or vulnerability. Her presence calls forth the deeper, unrefined self, the interior world he keeps hidden even from himself. Jung called this the confrontation with the shadow, the moment when what has been repressed can no longer be ignored. A man may look at a woman and desire her, but beneath the desire is something far more complex. Recognition. A recognition of his own unmet longing, his own suppressed hunger for tenderness, his own unspoken need to feel genuinely connected. Her body does not only symbolize pleasure, it symbolizes truth, and truth is always more frightening than desire. This is why some men react with distance, withdrawal, or even coldness when they feel drawn to a woman. Not because she is unworthy, but because she is too essential, too evocative, too revealing. She becomes a psychological mirror, one he is not prepared to look into. What he sees through her body is not merely her, but himself. And here is the part many women never fully grasp. A man's attraction is not simply a response to physical beauty. It is a response to meaning. Beauty is merely the trigger. Meaning is the impact. When he looks at her body, he senses the emotional, spiritual, and symbolic force she carries, whether she is aware of it or not. She becomes the embodiment of the anima, the inner feminine that every man carries within his psyche. She is the living imprint of what he has always been seeking but has never learned to name. Yet she may be completely unaware of this. She may believe she is not enough, or too much, or not his type, or easily replaceable. She does not see what her energy communicates. She does not feel how her presence rearranges the emotional geometry of a room. She thinks she is hiding her wounds, but he senses them as emotional resonance. She thinks she must perform to be desirable, but he is drawn to the truths she cannot disguise. She thinks her value depends on perfection, but he is captivated by authenticity. And it is here, in this very tension, that the most profound psychological dynamic takes place. While she doubts her worth, he feels overwhelmed by it. While she focuses on what is visible, he is impacted by what is invisible. While she questions whether he sees her, he is already battling the parts of himself she unconsciously awakened. You may not realize this, but you have done this to men without even trying. You have walked past them and unknowingly pulled them into a deeper relationship with their own unconscious. You have stirred emotions they thought were long dead. You have awakened longing they didn't know they carried. You have exposed vulnerabilities they spent years burying. To them, your body is not simply an object. It is a message, a summons, a revelation. And perhaps the greatest irony of all is that the woman who has no idea how powerful her presence is often becomes the woman who feels powerless in love. She thinks men overlook her, misunderstand her, undervalue her, unaware that some men keep their distance not out of indifference, but out of fear of what she awakens in them. She believes she must try harder to be seen, while men are secretly trying to recover from how deeply they already saw her. Because the masculine psyche does not perceive her body as she sees it. He perceives the story it tells, a story of instinct, myth, longing, beauty, truth, and the parts of himself he lost on the road to becoming a man. And this is only the beginning of what unfolds when the feminine body meets the masculine unconscious. What unfolds next inside the masculine psyche is a quiet war, not between him and the woman before him, but between him and his own unhealed history. Her presence activates both the noble and the wounded aspects of his inner world. A woman often assumes a man is seeing her body from the outside in, but what truly happens is the reverse. He sees her from the inside out. Her body becomes the catalyst that brings his unconscious material to the surface. And in that uncomfortable mirror, he meets his own unmet needs, childhood imprints, and unresolved emotional bruises. Jung understood this dynamic deeply. The anima, the inner feminine within a man, is awakened through his real encounters with women. It is through her that he meets the parts of his psyche that he lost in the pursuit of masculine strength. And when he looks at her body, he is not merely experiencing attraction, he is experiencing revelation. She symbolizes the emotional nourishment he was taught to neglect, the vulnerability he learned to fear, the tenderness he believed he was forbidden to express. This is why a woman's body often stirs in him what he has buried, the memories of wanting comfort but being denied it, the longing to be held but being told to toughen up, the desire to be understood but being shamed for softness. Her presence brings these ghosts to life, not through words, not through intimacy, simply by existing. And she rarely knows this. She underestimates the emotional impact she has. She thinks his gaze is superficial, when in reality it is layered with conflict, desire mixed with fear, admiration mixed with inadequacy, fascination mixed with the terror of losing control. To him, her body becomes the symbolic bridge between who he pretends to be and who he truly is. This bridge is beautiful, but it is also dangerous. Walking across it demands that he confront his shadow. And yet, the shadow is precisely what makes her irresistible. Her body carries contradictions, strength and softness, innocence and seduction, purity and chaos, control and surrender. These opposites do not confuse him, they electrify him, because he too is a creature of contradictions. He has spent his entire life pretending to be unified, stable, linear, rational. A woman's body shatters that illusion. It reveals to him that he is as fragmented as she is, as wounded as she is, as longing as she is. The body she criticizes, in the mirror, becomes the doorway to his own humanity. This is why some men feel humbled, almost disarmed, when they are near a woman they genuinely desire. Her presence destabilizes his ego. She dissolves the psychological armor he uses to navigate the world. He suddenly becomes aware of the parts of himself that feel small, unworthy, or unprepared. And instead of admitting this, many men either withdraw or attempt to regain control through emotional distance. He may look away, act indifferent, or pretend not to care, but internally he is burning. He is fighting the gravitational pull of her presence. He senses that engaging with her, truly engaging, would require revealing the parts of himself he hides from everyone else. And here is where the paradox emerges. The woman often interprets his withdrawal as rejection, while in reality it is a sign that she reached deeper into him than he expected. She thinks he is disinterested. He is overwhelmed. She assumes he doesn't see her. He sees too much. She believes she must be more, when, in truth, she already awakened something he cannot easily face. You, too, have done this. You have stood before a man and unknowingly dismantled him. You have triggered his desire to be better, to be worthy, to be chosen. You have awakened the masculine yearning for emotional redemption, a desire he cannot articulate but feels with an intensity he cannot hide. He sees in your body not just beauty, but possibility. The possibility of becoming more whole. But this possibility demands vulnerability, humility, courage, qualities he was taught to hide. Your presence carries a force he cannot ignore. It exposes the truth he fears most, that beneath the stoic exterior, beneath the calm performance of strength, beneath the armor of independence, he longs to be seen by a woman who can feel him without effort. And this is why a woman's body holds a power she rarely claims. She thinks she must earn a man's admiration through perfection, but she already moves him through symbolism. She thinks beauty is about appearance, but to him, it is about resonance. She thinks value is about winning his attention, but he is already fighting the pull of her energy before she says a single word. Her body, in his psyche, is not an object. It is a myth, a mirror, a compass, a storm, a sanctuary, a threat, a promise, and the deeper the connection, the deeper the psychological unraveling, for both of them. As the unraveling deepens, something profound begins to take shape inside the masculine psyche, something far more delicate and far more dangerous than desire. Her body starts to represent not just his hidden vulnerabilities, but his unfulfilled destiny. It becomes a reminder of everything he has avoided in his pursuit of strength: intimacy, surrender, emotional risk, spiritual exposure. The feminine body is not simply what he wants, it becomes what he fears becoming: open, receptive, undefended. Her presence dismantles the fortress he spent years constructing, the fortress that kept him safe but also kept him disconnected. He sees in her what he cannot access alone: intuitive intelligence, emotional depth, the ability to feel without fragmenting. She represents to him the possibility of becoming whole, and that is a possibility he simultaneously craves and resists. Jung understood this well. The anima does not merely attract a man, it transforms him. Through her, he is invited into the process of individuation, the journey toward psychological completeness. But transformation requires discomfort, and discomfort demands truth. When he looks at a woman's body, he is not merely seeing her physical form. He is seeing the parts of himself he has abandoned, the tenderness he lost, the emotional presence he was taught to suppress, the softness he was told was weakness. Her embodiment of these qualities both inspires and threatens him. She awakens the longing for connection he has numbed, but she also exposes the emotional cowardice he has normalized. She reveals his hunger and his fear of being fed. And this is where many women misinterpret his behavior. A man may appear pulled toward her one moment and distant the next. She assumes he is playing games, losing interest, or evaluating her worth. But often he withdraws because she awakens a level of emotional intensity he is unprepared to confront. Her presence is not casual to him, it is catalytic. She is not another woman. She is a symbolic encounter with himself. You have witnessed this dynamic even if you didn't recognize it. You have seen a man look at you with a depth that startled you, only to later avoid eye contact. You have felt someone lean into your energy instinctively, only to retreat when things became real. You have experienced warmth turn into silence, not because the warmth was false, but because it was too honest. When a man sees a woman's body in its true, symbolic form, he feels something ancient, reverence. Not worship, but reverence. The awareness that she holds a force capable of reshaping him. This reverence terrifies him if he has not yet met his own shadow. It compels him if he has begun confronting it. And it awakens him if he has accepted that transformation is no longer optional. And yet, what the woman sees in herself is often so small compared to what he perceives. She sees fluctuating physical details, her flaws, her insecurities, her perceived limitations, while he experiences an archetypal presence. Her hips signal to him not attraction alone, but safety. Her softness signals to him not weakness, but sanctuary. Her sensuality signals not temptation, but truth, the truth that he too longs to be touched emotionally, spiritually, psychologically. She does not realize that her body speaks a language the masculine soul has been starved of, the language of warmth, the language of gentleness, the language of life. And so, she doubts her impact precisely where it is the strongest. She fears being not enough, unaware that she has already summoned something in him he cannot control. This is why a man can become protective around a woman he barely knows. Her presence activates the archetype of the protector, not because she is fragile, but because she represents meaning. Meaning is the one thing the masculine psyche instinctively defends. The world taught him to protect goals, status, and pride, but his unconscious pushes him to protect what awakens, his soul. And if she has ever wondered why certain men grow tense, awkward, or uncharacteristically serious in her presence, it is because her body signals a threshold. She is the gateway between who he is and who he could become if he allowed himself to feel. And that gateway demands honesty, not just from him, but from her. Because the feminine body does not only awaken a man, it reveals a woman to herself. She begins to sense the power she carries, the influence she never asked for, but cannot avoid, the potency that emerges simply from being present in her truth. Her body becomes the bridge between her hidden wounds and her unclaimed strength. And it is in the way he reacts, trembling, withdrawing, desiring, struggling, that she begins to recognize the depth of her impact. She sees his reaction to her before she sees her reflection. And that reaction, whether gentle or conflicted, is the proof she has been conditioned to overlook. Her presence is not passive. It is a force that reshapes him, a force that awakens him, a force that exposes him, a force that terrifies him, a force that calls him home. And yet, this is only the surface of what her body truly symbolizes inside the masculine unconscious. But the deepest revelation comes when the feminine stops trying to be understood and starts embodying what she already is. Because the masculine psyche, as stirred and awakened as it may be by her presence, cannot complete the journey for her. He can be moved by her, unraveled by her, transformed by her. But he cannot give her the one thing she keeps searching for in his eyes: permission. A woman's body becomes most powerful in his psyche not when she seeks validation, but when she realizes she no longer needs it. This is the turning point, the quiet, spiritual threshold where everything shifts. For so long, she has looked at herself through the lens of comparison, fear, judgment, self-surveillance. She has believed that her worth must be earned, proven, performed. She has forgotten that meaning is not something she gives a man. It is something she already contains. The masculine does not awaken because she is perfect. He awakens because she is real. And as she grows into that truth, the dynamic between them begins to transform. The same body that once made her question herself now becomes the compass that guides her back to her own inner authority. She stops viewing her reflection as something to fix and begins recognizing it as something to honor. The softness she once apologized for becomes her power. The depth she once hid becomes her magnetism. The vulnerability she once feared becomes her strength. And as she steps into this embodied truth, something unexpected happens within him: clarity. When a woman inhabits her body from a place of self-worth, she triggers a different archetype in the masculine. Not the wounded boy avoiding responsibility, not the conflicted man caught between longing and fear, but the initiated masculine, the one who sees her not through projection, but through presence. He no longer looks at her body as a mirror for his own wounds. He sees her as a sovereign being, a partner on the path, a soul in her own right. The fascination he felt does not disappear, it evolves. The longing does not weaken, it deepens. The fear does not vanish, it becomes respect. Because the masculine psyche, at its highest, does not desire to possess the feminine. It desires to rise to meet her. And that rise can only happen when she claims herself first. This is the moment where she begins to understand the full arc of power she carries. The ability to awaken him, yes, but also the ability to awaken herself. Because what he sees in her body that she never sees herself is not just beauty. It is potential, it is fire, it is intuition, instinct, depth, mystery, life force. It is the embodiment of everything she tried to silence in order to be acceptable. But now, something in her begins to reclaim what she lost. She stops shrinking to make others comfortable. She stops dimming her warmth out of fear of being misunderstood. She stops treating her body as an obstacle, and slowly, almost imperceptibly, she becomes what the masculine psyche always sensed in her, even when she could not see it. A woman who stands in her own truth. And from this truth, she no longer interprets his distance as rejection. She sees it as his inner conflict, not her deficiency. She no longer interprets his awe as a sign she must perform. She recognizes it as evidence of her natural impact. She no longer interprets his desire as pressure. She sees it as reflection, a reflection of the force she carries without effort. And this is where the final transformation occurs. Not in him, but in her. Because she begins to understand that the true power of the feminine body is not in how it affects a man, but in how it awakens the woman herself. When she realizes that her presence can unravel, soften, ignite, inspire, and expose the masculine without her having to perform or prove anything, she steps into a freedom no one can take from her. Inner sovereignty. She no longer waits to be chosen. She chooses. She no longer hopes to be seen. She sees. She no longer begs for worth. She becomes it. And in that moment, the entire psychological dynamic between them is reborn. The masculine no longer feels threatened by her power. He feels invited by her serenity. She no longer fears his withdrawal. She understands his journey. He no longer projects his wounds onto her. He confronts them. She no longer seeks his validation. She becomes her own source. This is the highest expression of the dance between masculine and feminine. Not dependency, but resonance. Not fear, but awareness. Not possession, but presence. And the woman who reaches this point carries an aura the masculine psyche has no defense against, not because she is irresistible, but because she is free. Free from self-doubt. Free from distortion. Free from chasing ghosts in men's eyes. Free from mistaking longing for lack. Free from seeing herself through the lens of insecurity. She becomes the kind of woman who does not need to be understood to feel whole, because she finally understands herself. And in that freedom, one truth rises above all. The woman who knows her worth doesn't chase, she chooses.